All right, so it looks like I'm live. Welcome to the Telescope Time Machine at Greenside Observatory. I am Corey Schmitz, your host. Actually, I'm just the guy behind the telescope right now, or behind the desk, riding the desk, looking at the telescope, and looking at the telescope feed, which is actually pretty good. So I think we are in for pretty good view this evening, which I'm pretty stoked about. So this is the view of Jupiter at the moment in the red channel. Just off to the left we can see the great red spot. It's just barely over there. And that is the moon Io next to it. Io is always kind of in the neighborhood there. So the idea of the stream and the excitement, I guess, about today is basically just because the NASA Juno spacecraft is going to be passing right by Jupiter along the line that was on the image. It's going to start here at the top, and it's going to take, I think it takes about 30 minutes. I'm not sure, but it's going to take a certain amount of time, and it's going to pop down across the planet as the planet rotates in a slight angle, and in just a little bit that angle is going to be at the top, and then it's going to move all the way down. So the Juno spacecraft is going to move across the disk of the planet during its perijove, its close orbit, and take a lot of images and some other instrumentation that I do not know about. I'm not a Juno expert by any means. I'm just the guy that likes to take some photos and of the planet, and I'm going to happen to do it just a few hours before Juno does it at this exact same area. So pretty cool stuff. We're really excited to watch, this actually happen in, just a few hours. So this is going to be the view for the night. So for the people that have watched my live stream before, this is what we see in the stream. We're not going to see Juno, so none of that. Sorry. It is a spacecraft, so we've got somewhat decent seeing conditions in the sky tonight, so pretty happy about that. Let's see if I do need to change one thing. NASA Juno. It's going to be 1019 T. Did I spell all that right? Because the problem is there. All right. Looks like some people in the feed know each other. Okay. It's actually warm in here. That's good. What have we got? So this is the red channel. That's why it looks the way it does. I'm actually going to start a Zoom call with a friend of mine. Going to get that up and going so we can have a little bit of narrative in the background as well. So this will be good. So you might see my face pop up on the other screen. Maybe, maybe not. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to go back and get this set up, and then I will be back here in a moment, but I'll leave you with this view of Jupiter. I'm actually going to go ahead and save this filter position. And I'll switch it to a view that looks a little more exciting. There we go. We'll keep it on the luminance filter. Ooh, nice. Very nice. Okay. So we'll leave that there for a little bit. Put it in the center for you. Alright. Let's put a little gamma on it so that we can see some of that detail a little bit better. It'll make, there's IO. IO is going to disappear because I'm going to make the planet details pop in a little better. So. Yeah, let's try that. So yeah, as we can see here, that's working well. Okay. So the NASA Juno PJ27 flyby line, whatever you want to call it, I'm not sure what the experts call it, but is going to go from about here past the great red spot here. So as this rotates, it's going to come down and go through. So I'm going to try and get some images of that same area here as it goes across through the center. So not too bad of a view.
I can hear you definitely. Well, maybe because I haven't
A
said anything.
note. Okay.
Yeah, maybe if you put your
Uh-huh.
earplugs in.
Let's try this. Does this work? I should be able to hear David Dickenson right now. Seems to be having
Yeah,
some
I
interesting audio
I'm speaking currently.
difficulties right
I,
now.
I'm unmuted again.
That's that. um, so Dave's coming
Hello,
through fine.
speaking
Why
into the
am I not able
microphone.
to hear Dave though? You can hear
I'm
Dave. I can't
speaking.
hear Dave. Uh, this is funny. Um,
Hello. Yep, it turns green, so I'm speaking. I definitely. I'm gonna go out and try to come back in again. Not that you can hear me, but
this is why you don't do things at like, you know, super early in the morning. And David Dickinson, oh, and he's gone. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and fade him out then. Let's see. Hmm. Hey Dave, it's not your audio. Don't worry.
Yeah, I can hear you currently.
Okay, Dave, I can hear you. Your audio's on and your
Yep.
video is gonna be on in just 1 second.
Okay.
So this is fun. Um, so everybody can hear you, but they can't see you yet. But they will be able to real soon, I
They're
promise.
just gonna see my studio apartment anyway. I don't have anything else to. Oh,
That's
I have my book to show.
yeah, but that's oh there you go. See, you've got stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, this just arrived in the mail. First time it's a very weird thing when you've been looking at it on a computer forever to see it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's kind of like making a sculpture or a piece of art, but you can't see it until it's done. Kind of like so you're just kind of like doing
yeah.
it blindly and like and ultimately you kind of have how the layout's going to. No, it came out pretty good.
That's
I
good.
wish it could have been bigger in more things, but we had the constraints of the format, of course, to deal with. So I think
Always.
we have something usable.
That's yeah. That's I suppose the most important part. You know.
I wanted these like when we did these star maps instead of being a little half page. I wanted them to be like this and be a full page, so you don't. But they're still legible and they're on they're on par with what's out there for other star maps. I've compared them like scale and size wise, and like okay, it's kind of like a little bigger. That it's not a big like atlas, but it's not a pocket size guide either. It's kind of in between that, intermediate,
Gotcha.
but it's
Gotcha.
legible.
That's cool. That'll be awesome though. When does the book come out?
July 21st.
Okay, sweet.
Doing maps is hard. I learned that too because as with everything I've done, I'm not trained how to like I said, how do you want these done? They're like, well, we use Adobe Illustrator. So I'm like, what's Adobe Illustrator? So it's like, let's download it this weekend and see if it can do in my brain what I want it to do because I'm doing this like in an artist sketch pad kind of thing. And I'm like,
Sure.
okay, I think we can. I played with it a little bit the first book, and then this one we kind of took it to another level. But doing maps is its own editing thing
Oh
that
yeah,
is like,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Oh,
So
this is
I
gonna
look at
be
people that
interesting.
no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry, sorry.
I look at people that write novels. It's like you're really only if you don't have to do the graphics part of it. That's like you're just doing the words. I'm like that's easy.
Yeah, yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, the graphics are definitely hard, I suppose. So, especially if you're not a designer by trade or anything like that. So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, we had a design department that did some things and did the layout and things like that. But it's still, yeah, it's fun. I learned a lot.
Yeah, that's cool. So, I'm actually now going to swap over and do a Meridian Flip.
Oh,
Um,
those are always fun.
yeah, so the cool thing is if you watch it on the screen, I wonder if I could make yeah, I'm going to make the telescope big when I do this because it'll look cool. Where's the big scope?
It must be getting towards sunrise for you there.
No, it is 3:55 in the morning.
Oh,
So,
that's right. That's right. Yeah, we're
yeah.
not. Yeah,
So
we're
let's
still a ways
let's
out.
I'm going to switch it over to the big oh, I was. Um, Here, let's do this. Yeah, let's duplicate this. Okay. Now, so this will be interesting. I'm gonna do. Yeah.
Well, opposition's coming up. Well, now it's June. It's next month for Jupiter and Saturn. So
Yeah, next month. Yeah, right about the time your
yeah,
book comes out. So.
yeah, and actually, well, my stuff's all deep sky in this one. There's no planetary stuff in this one, but it's
Yeah, but that's
but
okay. It's still there. Okay, now I'm gonna
yeah.
hit go
First,
to, and we're gonna watch and just check the scope. It's gonna move. Oh wait, you can't see the scope. Sorry, Dave.
let me flip back to it.
Everybody else gets to see it, but not you.
Get to see it. That's okay.
Yeah. So I've got what a Meridian Flip is doing now. What happened is Jupiter has moved past the meridian, and which is the imaginary line of where it hits like the zenith point. It's where things go from east to west, and so the telescope, in order to track properly, is now going to be moving from east to west like it was before. But in order to do that, the entire telescope mount has to swap, and I've recently recabled everything and got it all set up, so it's a much more permanent setup, and I can do unattended Meridian flips now. I don't have to go down there and look at the telescope. All the cables are safe, and it's all ready to go. So it's basically kind of like an actual observatory setup, which is pretty cool. So
yeah, that's the German equatorial mounts have to do the Meridian Flip over, and it's those kind of mounts. They're not intuitive if you've never used one when you first. Like fork mounts are pretty intuitive when you look at how they're set up, and they don't have to do that sort of flip over for long tracking. But
but this one, the longer. I mean, I've used it for many years, but the thing is now, it's very intuitive for me. Like I understand how it works, and I've got it. Oh, that was nice. Okay, so I'm going to flip back into the other screen. Now you'll be able to see. Okay, so you can see what everybody else can see at the moment. And what it's done is it's placed Jupiter right near the middle of the screen again. Oops, and I've swapped out the sides. So I need to center it. The whole reason for the feed today is some pretty interesting stuff with actual spaceships.
You were saying with Juno, NASA Juno, it's near one of the perijoves.
Perijove 27 is happening. There's Jupiter.
I was just thinking you don't hear much about Juno anymore, but it's still out there.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think we should, because it's awesome. It's so cool.
It is. It's the only outer solar system mission we have going right now.
And they're doing a lot of stuff with citizen science on it as well. And listen, I don't know a whole ton about the Juno project directly, but what I do know is that they're actually looking at our images, our citizen images of this thing. And specifically right now, because in just a few hours, in about 8.5 hours from now or so, the Juno spacecraft is actually going to go down the line that you kind of see on the screen now, right down the middle of the planet from top to bottom. And it's going to do a close pass, and it's going to gather its data and instrumentation from its close pass right now, and get a bunch of images that are going to be very similar to what we've seen before, but with some different stuff. And this is the 27th time it's been doing it, which is super cool. And it's going to be looking at the exact same view, that we're seeing right now.
Good. The Juno cam, was kind of just put on there kind of as an afterthought. It wasn't the primary science mission to take images, but what amateurs have been doing, like you're saying, it's like they pretty much turned that whole project over for amateurs to just take these images and process them.
Yeah,
it's designed mostly for studying the magnetosphere of Jupiter and the outer environment of the electrical environment in magnetosheath and things like that. It doesn't even really come very close. It's solar powered, not nuclear powered, so it doesn't really come in very close to any of the moons. I mean, it's caught some of the moons incidentally, but there's a big, what they call the Io torus flux between Jupiter and Io, the innermost moon. That would spell doom for its solar panels if they got too close to that. So this is the first outer solar system mission they've used solar panels on. And the solar panels are enormous. They have to be to operate out there. They're like, there's 3 panels about the size of a bus.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
I think it launched in off the top of my head, I think it launched in 2013 or 14, and the mission was only supposed to go through 2015, so it's kind of wild that it's still operating, because I know it takes a fair amount of radiation damage every time it goes through that inner. Jupiter has an enormous amount of radiation close in.
Okay.
And the inner instruments I know are caged inside like a reinforced steel titanium kind of compartment, but I don't think they were thinking it would last till 2020, so that's cool. It's still out there operating. But I said you don't hear much from this mission anymore, but it's still there. They generally try to get everything they can out of these missions. If they keep operating past their nominal life, that's like Spirit and Opportunity on Mars. They were supposed to only both operate for like 90 days, and they lasted over a decade apiece.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. So they went way past warranty.
That's it seems to be the thing, like I suppose when you over-engineer something to the point where
they
it's going to be able to
over-engineered,
handle, like when it can handle stuff,
yeah.
then it can work. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Curiosity is the same way. So
true. Yeah. So I don't know, like all this stuff. So I've just recently gotten involved in a citizen science type of way with this project, just from people that I know that image it, and that have when you submit your images to the online databases, the scientists actually look at them, and they'll redirect the spacecraft, or they will actually decide, they'll make mission decisions based on the images that us amateurs will put out there, because they're not looking at Jupiter all the time. We are. Yeah. Us nerds in our houses with our telescopes are looking at Jupiter more often, honestly, than the professionals.
And amateurs like Anthony Wesley there a few years back caught a impact flash on Jupiter.
Yeah, and I've recently been looking for those as well. So
yeah.
Who knows? If we see
there are networks now that are monitoring. You can watch Jupiter go through one rotation a night in your opposition. So it's not quite 10 hours. It's like 9 hours and 50 minutes. I think Jupiter rotates really fast. I mean, even right now, just for like 20 minutes watching, you can tell it's rotated.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, where the Great Red Spot was kind of out of view, now it's coming back in a little bit.
Yeah. So I've been, I started actually doing some imaging now, just because I want to see if I can get anything. The seeing conditions are vibrating a little bit. We kind of see some in and out.
I'm sorry, I sent you that double shadow transit last week, and then I realized, I was like, oh yeah, that is going to be kind of. I did a simulation. I looked at it like, oh yeah, that is just barely out. There's another one this week too, but I think it's also out of view for you. We're in a cycle of them. I come to find out these doubles aren't too uncommon. Usually once or twice a month there's a few. What's really uncommon is a triple. About once a decade or so, roughly, there's a triple shadow transit, but those are pretty. I have seen one once, but they're pretty rare. You can never have all four. Incidentally, it's just the way the moons are. The innermost moon, Io, Europa, and Ganymede, they're in a 1-2-4 resonance. So they can't. It takes. They can't always sync up.
Okay. I was wondering about that. Like, why not? Why can't I get 4? I want 4, Dave.
You could, but you know what? You could, but not from the vantage point that we're at. I remember looking into this. What's really nifty too is some of the moons. I looked at one time through a simulation to see. They always say that total solar eclipses on Earth are special because our moon is about the right size. It's 300 times closer to the sun, though it's 300 times smaller, so it fits almost exactly over our sun. There are instances on Jupiter's moons, I think from Europa, that when the moons go through mutual eclipse season, when they're right along the plane of the ecliptic, and this happens about every 5 or 6 years, you get those kind of solar eclipses from one moon looking at another passing in front of the sun, where the moon is just about the same size as the sun. Whoa. Only they're much faster. They're like 20, 30 seconds long.
Oh, okay, wow.
Whereas totality here is like, it can be
we got a
7
couple
minutes
last time. We got a few minutes last time, yeah. Super cool.
Yeah, I think the maximum for totality it's 7 minutes and some seconds. That if you get the maximum theoretical possible. Yeah, usually they're shorter.
I want to see that someday.
Yeah, there was one of, I think in 2009 that was like, it was touted as the longest totality for like several centuries. I didn't get to see that one, but you have an annular coming up this month. I think it's a sunrise for you. I think you get it there in Johannesburg, like a 3% rising at sun. I saw
just
one
a little
like
tiny
that.
bit, enough for me to not even see.
I saw one like that in, I think it was 2013. From I went out to the Florida coast and managed to get a 2% partially eclipsed sun rising over the vehicle assembly building there at Kennedy Space Center. I scouted out the geometry. It's actually not a bad shot, but it's it was a very shallow the sun was just coming out of eclipse at sunrise.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I was talking to Sharon Ahmad in Malaysia about that because he was going to travel to see it, but with the current lockdown, I said, it's like, so the eclipse is right there in Asia. I'd say, are you going to see it? He's like, I was going to see it.
Yeah, he was. He's traveled before.
Yeah.
I went to the 2017 eclipse in the States, and that was amazing. So
me and Pamela Gay were the only two people who would admit that we were there and we got clouded out.
Oh, that's terrible. It was an amazing experience.
We did see it. We saw the 360-degree sunrise. We saw everything darken. I have a shot that was time-stamped when we saw the clouds roll in. I just started shooting as much as I could, just mobile with a filter on my DSLR. And I have one that's stamped like 30 seconds prior to totalities where we lost the sun.
Oh, man.
And it went, yeah. So it was a media invite that I had in North Carolina. So I knew we had about a 50-50 shot of seeing it there.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's one in 2024 coming as well.
It is, yeah. I'll be back for that one for sure. Well, not for sure.
That goes over my hometown in Maine, so.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, with what we're seeing on the screen, everybody that's watching, we've got quite a few people watching. Well, a few people watching right now, which is cool. I never know if these are going to work because when I do them, when I talk about them prior, you never know if the weather's going to be good or not because I don't always trust the forecast anymore. But it's turning out to be a long string of good nights lately, and it's been cool because it's like this week before the Juno perijove. So it's been nice to kind of see if there's going to be anything interesting happening when Juno flies by. And recently there's been a little bit of action around the nearby the Great Red Spot. Some new stuff popping up.
That's true because when Juno goes into perijove, they're getting a much closer in view, so it's kind of handy to have.
Yeah, so we can kind of see. Yeah, we're excited in the amateur community. We're excited to see the difference. Like that's why I'm super stoked to get some images now of Jupiter because it's only about 8 hours away from Juno, so it's not going to be that much different than what the view Juno sees. Just a lot further back, obviously. So I'm curious to like compare and see like, okay, what do the Juno cam images look like, and can I match up any of the major features that it has caught with what I've
it's on a really elongated, I don't have the numbers in front of me how far out, like apoapsis and periapsis, like when it comes in, its orbit is highly elongated, Juno, when it goes through the system. It's only the second one. Galileo is the only other one that's orbited. We've had a lot of flybys of Jupiter, but Juno and Galileo are the only ones that have parked in orbit and stay there for an extended time. Let's see, Voyager 1, Voyager 2, Pioneer 10, Pioneer 11, New Horizons flew by Jupiter on the way to Pluto. I think that's it for Jupiter flybys.
Okay.
Cassini, I could think Cassini might have, again, without having the interwebs in front of me to research it.
How much can they alter the course of Juno now that it's in orbit? Is it kind of stuck, or does it actually have, some sort of? I
think it has some small thrusters, but I think it's pretty much obeying just Newtonian mechanics, pretty much.
Okay, so once it's in orbit,
it's going to be placed.
They can make small adjustments, but nothing major, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they can do much for really major adjustments.
Okay.
Again, it's solar powered. It's the first one that didn't have a nuclear RTG. Okay. That's something I've written pretty extensively about because Cassini, New Horizons, all those the sun is just too faint out there. Nuclear power makes more sense for a power plant. But with Juno, they opted to. The only problem with nuclear power is you've got a lot of, you've got the safety regulations, you've got a lot of other precautions for the launch because it's a little more dangerous to launch something with a plutonium RTG on it. Solar panels definitely streamline that whole from design to launching the spacecraft process. Yeah. But it's harder to use. Like I said, they had to put huge solar panels on Juno out there. Just to to power. Like the wattage on it is like, it was like something like maybe a 200 or 300 watt light bulb equivalent of what it's getting for power.
You're kidding. Oh, wow.
It's
That's
not
insane.
much.
So
I'd have to look at the article that I wrote, but I remember there was some comparison that it was like the amount of amperage that would run like a kitchen blender. So something I remember researching. I was like, from what I know with like amperage versus wattage, and I was like, it came out to like something like a kitchen appliance. You're always trying to look at something that you can give the reader a comparison that it's not a lot.
Yeah,
that's powering the spacecraft.
That is crazy. I'm looking in the comments. I've actually got a couple of questions I'm going to go through and answer. Let's see. So we've got people. Everybody, shout out from where you're from. I'm curious to see, where we've got viewers from. But Felipe Diaz is from Chile. We've got Clyde Foster. He's actually from nearby me here in the Pretoria, Johannesburg area of South Africa. And for those not in the know with Clyde, I talk about him almost every live stream, but he's one of the top imagers in the world. If you see, if you go into
I think I've heard that name,
yeah, any of the scientific databases, he's all over this Jupiter stuff and Mars and Saturn as well. But lately he's been really getting excited about Jupiter stuff, and he's been, I've been, I should say this, I've been working with him. He's been kind of mentoring me on a lot of this planetary stuff lately, and just because we live close by, we can kind of compare our notes on how things are going with the atmosphere and everything.
With the July opposition, that should favor you guys in the southern hemisphere too.
Yeah,
I mean, Jupiter should be really high in the sky.
It is
for us.
Well, right now you can look at the telescope. I mean, it goes through almost a perfect zenith lately.
Yeah.
And so somebody asked. Let's see, Ethan Chappell didn't. I saw something. Did he do a Universe Today takeover recently? I think so. On Instagram. Let's see. He says. Who asked me this? Was that you? Somebody asked. Oh yes, Ethan asked if I've got a methane band filter, and I do not at the moment. I'm going to get one though, because the more and more I do this with Jupiter, the more I think it will be very good to have. And so for those people that don't know, the methane band filter, CH4, is a 20 nanometer frequency filter, and that just shows basically the methane on Jupiter. So you can do this and see where there's hot spots of methane on the planet. And
that's kind of cool.
Normally it's just like, well, I don't know, not normally, but people wouldn't really know, like, why do we care? Well, the thing is, we care because when there's big plumes of methane on Jupiter, it marks a lot of big changes. Like the Great Red Spot is extremely bright in methane. Some of the little circular anticyclonic storms on Jupiter are very, 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 very high in methane, and it's interesting. So when they monitor that, and when they see new bright spots pop up, they know, and they can watch. The scientists can watch those areas for new storms and new activity, which is very interesting to the atmospheric research. So that's
and we talked
the limit.
We talked about on one of the broadcasts too, the northern equatorial belt, where the I'm pretty sure I got that one right, because there's a northern equatorial belt and southern equatorial belt. The one that the Great Red Spot is embedded in, sometimes that pulls a vanishing act roughly about once a decade or so.
Oh, okay.
2009, I think, was the last time. It's interesting because in IR they could see it, that it was still there. It just was kind of submerged. But for whatever reason, that belt occasionally, it's not as permanent as the other belt. So we're almost kind of due for something like that to happen again. It's usually roughly about once a decade, not exactly. And the last time it was 2009. Jupiter looked very different at that time because the Great Red Spot was still there, but it only had one belt.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because
one main belt.
I've even I've been doing, random planetary imaging. I haven't gotten serious with it until this year, or even just a couple of years ago, but this year for real. And
Yeah.
I look back at my images, and they're so different. Like Jupiter changes so quickly, and
It does.
even from a week ago, I look back at my great red spot images from a week ago. Ooh, we're getting some good seeing pop in here and there. That my images from a week ago to now are different. Like it changes so rapidly. It makes me excited about
it. It is one of the most interesting ones because I mean, Venus is larger but shows really no detail.
Yeah.
Mars, you've only got maybe a window of a couple months every 2 years that it comes near opposition where you can really see very much.
Yeah.
Saturn looks cool, but I mean, on the disks, there's not a lot of action compared to Jupiter.
Yeah.
There's some bands and stripes, but Jupiter, of all the planets, has a lot more to. We have a good opposition of Mars coming up too this year in October, so.
Saturn.
That's one of the reasons I was asking you about planetary camera. I did get that camera because I was like, oh, we're gonna have Jupiter, Saturn, Mars. There's going to be a lot of interesting things coming up with planets.
No, it just makes sense. I think they're not that expensive to get the smaller planetary cameras. The color ones are actually cheaper than the monochrome ones. So if you just want to do like some quick imaging, with a small telescope, you don't have to spend a ton of money. It is difficult though. Planetary imaging, and once you get into it, I think you'll be glad you have a color camera, but you'll probably sense that frustration that I sense a lot of times.
I used to do this. I used to do this about a decade ago, back in the where you would just modify like a webcam. I had a Logitech webcam that I had, it was a $20 webcam that I just took the lens off, super glued an eyepiece barrel to it, and I was imaging. Like when we did the old weekly or virtual star party, that's how I was doing those images of Jupiter and the moon, was with that rig.
Sure,
so,
yeah. Well, and that works actually quite well.
The field of view was very tiny. It was like maybe 5 arc minutes across, if that. It wasn't very big.
Oh wow, yeah. No, and that's the same with what you're getting. So I'm using a ZWO ASI 290mm monochrome camera, and I don't remember the chip size of the one you got, but it's very similar to this.
Yeah.
They're both planetary cameras, and
I may ultimately have to break down and figure out a rig dual axis guider so I can track with this alt-azimuth mount that I have.
You should be able to put it on a wedge. So if anybody out there has got a telescope and it's got only it's like a fork-mounted thing, and it goes basically left and right, up, down. A lot of those can be modified so that you can do equatorial tracking. And what equatorial tracking is where basically it follows man, I'm losing it because I'm trying to image at the same time. The celestial pole, you align it on the celestial pole, which is the point in the sky where everything rotates around, and it rotates in the opposite direction of our planet, so that it can track the sky relatively easily.
Yeah.
So like the things you're seeing on the screen here, my telescope is a German equatorial mount. It does that, so you can see that center point. There's the telescope on the right, and then the counterweight's on the left. And David, they've got a screen of it a view of it on the stream, so that's why I'm saying that. And right in the middle is the pivot point, and that pivot point is lined up to the pole. Okay, so it just rotates around that point, and it doesn't take a lot if it's counterweighted properly. It doesn't take a lot to move it and to track properly. So.
Equatorial, you're just tracking in one axis basically rather than two.
Yeah. Let's see. So we've got people from Texas, people from Italy, people from Chile, people from New York. You from where are you at again? I forgot now.
I'm in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah, Norfolk, Virginia. Okay, that's right. I knew it was Virginia. I couldn't remember which.
We're usually more nomadic, but with what's going on worldwide, we're here for a while, I think.
Yeah,
so.
No, you gotta stick around. Let's see what. And then what else? So we got people from here in South Africa on as well, people from elsewhere, I'm sure. Davide from Italy. I've been speaking with him recently. He asked me if I know the time of the passing through the Jupe disk of the Juno spacecraft. It's 10:29 Universal Time, so just a few hours from now. And what we see now, the view we see now, it's basically going to go right down from top to bottom. The North
about 8
Pole,
hours, yeah.
Yeah, from the North Pole to the South Pole of Jupiter. And it is, yeah, it's going to be, I'm super excited. It looks like, I don't know how long it takes for them to get all the images out to the public so that we can see and edit them.
Probably
ourselves.
if somebody were to look at the DSN now, the Deep Space Network, you could probably see the animation of the Deep Space Network talking to Juno, probably.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
You would just see it's interesting to see which spacecraft they're usually chattering with, the New Horizons or Juno or any of the Mars missions.
Oh, wow.
It's a neat kind of virtual website to track all that.
That's cool. Yeah.
There's one in Madrid, Goldstone, and Canberra. I think they got worldwide coverage with the radioscopes that are tracking these missions.
Have I seen the Sky Live website? Does that show the solar system basically live?
I think so. Or there's one called NASA Eyes.
Okay, I saw Kevin Gill.
Yeah, he does a lot of image processing.
I believe he works for, I don't know if, he works for the NASA JPL guys for the Juno project, I think. I'm not sure, but he does a lot of it, and it's insane. So he posted a video, or just a link rather, recently of the Juno spacecraft basically in the system of Jupiter, like, it's funny because it looks like it's dodging the moons, getting in there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Something I was looking at that I just realized we're about to have in 2021, because usually every week I look ahead to see, like, those double shadow transits, or if there's anything interesting going on.
Yeah.
Mutual eclipse season with Jupiter's moons. This happens about every 5 or 6 years. Starts in January 2021. Basically, from our line of sight, you'll start seeing the moons move in front of each other. And in addition to casting shadows onto Jupiter, they'll start casting shadows onto each other.
That's crazy.
So it's usually for a couple months, and it's about every 5 or 6 years. I remember I was like, oh yeah, this happened in 2015.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nifty to see these little events. Like I said, one moon, and those are, like I said, if you were standing on one of those moons, you would see solar eclipses at that time.
Yeah.
You see the moons kind of eclipsing the sun.
No, that's insane, because I've
seen amateurs catch those too, like animations of Ganymede casting a shadow on Io or stuff like that.
That's so cool. This year is the first time I've ever actually gotten any detail at all on any of the moons. Normally they're just blurry, lighty spot.
That is crazy,
blobs,
Even if you had told me that 20, 30 years ago, like, that amateurs would be doing that kind of, like, detail, that is crazy to think that. Yeah, it's like, it's amazing that people are catching. They're teeny, because the moons, they're under an arc second in size, I'm pretty sure, which is really teeny. Yeah. Jupiter itself is about 30 to 40 arc seconds, I believe, across. So.
Oh wow.
Usually visually.
Yeah, so right now Jupiter is 44.7 seconds. So it's getting
I'm pretty sure the moons. It's interesting, when the moons are casting shadows, if you watch them for over a period of a few weeks or months, you can actually visually tell which moon is casting the shadow. The shadows aren't the same size. Like the innermost one, Io, the shadow is a bit like larger, and just by the shadow size, the outer moons like Callisto, the shadow is like a little more of a pinpoint.
Okay. I'm going to get a couple more runs of color data, and then I'm probably going to switch over to infrared now that I've got this one line. I want to get, so there was a new storm, or not, I don't want to call it a storm, but a spot bright in methane, just to the right and low down, near the red spot there, where the mouse pointer is.
Oh yeah, on my
just
phone,
popped up.
I keep thinking, is that a flash or what?
No, that's my mouse pointer.
Yeah. At first, I'm like, did we just see a flash? It's not impossible.
No. It's not impossible. I just started running all my videos through this software called Detect, which is written by some people in some people in France. And what you do is you take all the videos that you ever collect, and it analyzes every single frame of video. Okay, and it will look for anomalies from frame to frame, different differences in brightnesses, and it's got algorithms and stuff that analyze it for you. And then if it suspects one, it will mark the frame, capture the frame, drop it into a folder, and then warn you about it and tell you, okay, go check this out. You might want to see if this is an actual impact. And then it's got automatic submission packages that it creates. So if it does detect a possible impact, because I'm capturing thousands and thousands and thousands. I've captured, I don't want to say a million frames of video, but I bet even just this season, probably a million frames of video, because just that 60-second capture that I just did was about 4,000 frames, 4,600 frames of video. So I've done hundreds and hundreds of captures, of these videos. So I've got so many frames that, there's a possibility that I possibly captured something. So I'm running everything.
There could be stuff in there you just haven't seen.
And you don't really see it. It's not that obvious because it's like it's hard to see on these videos. They're so grainy as well, as it is. So it's.
Well, I'm probably gonna let you go.
Okay.
Get a rare night of sleep.
What's that? What is that? I woke up at 2:45.
Hey, I found as a writer you have to sleep occasionally, otherwise you can't put a period on a sentence after your brain is just melted after a while.
Yeah. Oh, what happened to your video? Has this been messed up for this long?
What's that?
I don't know. Whoops. For some reason your video wasn't even, no, it's not you, it's my broadcast software. It was like, there we go. That's what Dave looks like, everybody. Okay, hang on one second. There we go. See, I was focusing on Jupiter. There, that's what Dave looks like. Okay.
Hey, buy my book. Here's me with my book. Available for pre-order.
Buy Dave's new book. What's the name
my
of the
shameless
book? I feel bad that.
Oh, I have to look at it sometimes. I'm like, what is the name of my book? Oh, yeah, The Backyard Astronomer's Field Guide, How to Find the Best Deep Sky Objects the Night Sky Has to Offer. So, and nice. I think you might find a few of your photos.
Maybe.
There's a not as many as I wanted, but there are a couple.
Aw, you didn't have to say that.
I pushed for them. There was even a point they were like, do we really need the maps? It's like, yeah, we need the maps. That's what the whole point of the book is, the maps.
You could have thrown out the maps. You could have thrown out the maps and put more of my images in. Come on. You don't really
like if you remember Burnham's Celestial Field Guide, there's not a whole lot of, it's mostly text. There's not a lot of maps.
Yeah. So, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that existed until I watched Dylan O'Donnell's recent YouTube video about it.
Oh, that's like a cult classic. Yeah, it's one of the very, very few desktop references I still have, because it uses 1950 coordinates. That's how old it is.
See, I'm relative in the whole grand scheme of all this stuff. I'm relatively new to the cult, so I can claim ignorance in the cult behavior. But yeah, now
there's
that I
always
know,
more to learn. I'm learning
true.
stuff every day. I'm learning stuff every day in this field. There's always more to learn. So
yeah, no, it's insane. It's insane. Well, thanks for stopping in, Dave.
No problem. Have fun.
This is I don't know if I even introduced you properly. This is David Dickson. He's an author. He's got his second book coming out. Second published book.
Yes.
So far? Yeah, coming out
2.5.
2.2.5.
Yeah,
And
we did an ebook back in 2017.
Okay.
That was free from Universe Today. That was the point 5.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So yeah, so Dave's been doing science writing and space astronomy writing for a long time online, and also
I
he
do have a
works with.
telescope that I get out occasionally.
Yeah,
So
even even
I'm more of a visual. Like I dabble with photography a bit, but
he actually puts his eye. You put your eye on the
an
thing. It's
eyepiece.
weird. It's
Yeah,
weird.
I'm lazy. Visual astronomy is just so much easier.
Oh, but it's inspiring as all get out though. So it's cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, he writes a lot for Universe Today. Now you can see a lot of his work on universetoday.com, and yeah, check him out on Twitter, Astro Guys with a Z.
Yeah.
And also Instagram, same. So thanks again
All
for
right.
stopping in, Dave.
All right, no problem. Have fun.
Okay.
Stay warm.
Thanks. Bye-bye. So yeah, that was Dave. Sorry about that rocky start to his entrance. Let's see. There we go. Now I can cut that. Yeah, so Dave has been involved a lot with. Is the time on that? Right. It is. Okay, cool. Has been involved a lot with me in the past, and just a lot of the stuff that I've been doing with this astronomy. So he's a friend that's been around for quite a while on the internets, and he always has some good insights to add. So yeah. So right now I'm actually doing a full screen, full frame capture of the entire frame of the video. What I normally do is just capture around the planet. If the video files are a lot smaller, and all I really mostly care about is exactly the disk of the planet. But what I'm doing now is I'm capturing the whole screen so that I can get I/O in there, which is just off the edge. Let's see if I'll move it over. So there's I/O, so that I can use I/O for making sure my rotation is perfectly correct. So yeah. I've been using Detect for a while. I just haven't for a long time, and it's been crashing. So Ethan says, "Welcome to the Detect Club." Yeah, it's crazy, and I've just got an old computer sitting here doing it, and it keeps crashing. It pisses me off because I drop in 100 video files in it, and it gets through half of them, and then it crashes, and it takes a while. You can imagine the algorithm has to analyze every single frame. So yeah, it's kind of annoying. But anyway, it's been interesting getting back into it, and it's not like I have time to do it, but it's in the background, so it's fine. It's okay. Davide says every David loves visual observing. I agree. It's actually really, really cool. Visual observing is quite cool. So, I started doing that. When I started all of this, I had a 10-inch Dobsonian telescope, and visual observing was my game as well. I would sit, instead of looking at Jupiter in this way, I would sit behind the eyepiece in front of a Dobsonian and stare at that thing for 2-3 hours. So, not even care about the cold. Didn't mind. It was amazing. I look so rarely through a telescope with an eyepiece anymore. It's actually kind of sad. So when I actually do it, it blows my mind again every single time. And I find that to be still the one thing. If you can look at a planet or a star cluster or any of those objects through the telescope with an eyepiece, it's just amazing. It's just always so cool. So let's see. You know what I never did is I never announced on the interwebs, that I'm actually live right now. So maybe I should do that. Let's see. There. Retweet with comment. Live right now. There. Good enough. It's hard to do about 6 things at once, but I do my best. Let's see. So let's get this back here, and let's go through and do another color capture. I'll leave this up here so you can see Io as well, because it is interesting to be able to see the moon at the same time as the planet. And I've actually haven't had to focus too much. In between filters. Normally I check the focus really, really carefully in between filters, and it's been being somewhat stable in between red, green, blue luminance lately. So it looks like it's just now started to change. Temperature changes affect that slightly. So, and with almost 6,000 millimeters of focal length, it definitely has an effect. On all of that. So you can see Io just below my video. Yes. Yeah, well, listen, my old laptop. So Ethan, I don't know if it's Chapel or Chappelle, says... that he's been running the Detect software for a while now and never had a crash. And I don't know why. It might just be because I just kind of threw it together and I haven't really done much. And I'm also running it off an external drive, which I would, you kind of have to. There's so much data there. So I just got it on my old hard drives. But yeah. So Renee in New York, Long Island, asks, she doesn't see any filter nudging. What happened about a week ago now, a little over a week ago. My filter wheel for my telescope had actually broken. It didn't work. It didn't want to switch. The motor didn't want to run correctly. It just lost its brain. It forgot what it was. The whole filter wheel. It's an automatic, like, you just say go to red. It would go to red, and that's what I'm doing now. And the thing is, it stopped doing that. It just broke. The motor wouldn't turn like it was supposed to. It would turn, but it would never stop, and all kinds of things. And then I dug into the problem. I'm a software engineer for embedded electronics by my day job, so I actually looked into it quite a bit, and I was actually talking to the thing over serial commands, like it was like an old modem, basically, talking to the motor control circuit board, and it basically, it didn't even know what it is. It still doesn't know what it is. The filter wheel itself, it knows what brand it is, but it doesn't know what model filter wheel it is. But I've recently finally got it to work, reinstalled the firmware several times, finally got the firmware to stick, and it is working as normal finally, which is making my life much easier, because I was actually manually controlling it using serial commands. It looked like it was just a script that I was running that would say, okay, go to the next filter, and it would run the motor for basically a predetermined set of time that would sometimes get it in the middle, sometimes get it close, and when it did, it was nice, and when it didn't, I would have to nudge it around. So that's why she's asking why she's not seeing any nudging tonight. So yes, the answer is I have fixed my filter wheel. I'm super stoked. It is working exactly as it's supposed to, and I'm really excited about it. So yes, very, very happy. And that makes my life much, much easier. Davide says it's very windy in Italy. A floating, vibrating Jupiter. It's not actually, you say it's a little worse than the past days. It's actually better, I think. But that's my opinion. it's better than it had been definitely a week ago. Yesterday, it was, I've been imaging almost every day now. Wow, every single day. I'm surprised I can even talk full sentences. I'm sleep deprived as all hell. But yeah, I don't know what I was going to say. I totally lost my train of thought. See, I can't string a full sentence together. Oh, the atmosphere has been turbulent and annoying for a while now. I know I said that I was going to do infrared, but I'm not going to do it quite yet. This is too good. This is too good. Let's see what happens with this. Where are we here? There. That's muted now. Okay. So does anybody have any questions? If you do, feel free to ask them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer anything. I'll even do it truthfully if I can. If I don't know the answer to something, I won't lie. So, use manual. Why? Because it's more exciting? No, I won't. Automatic filter wheel is the way to go. Especially with this. Not gonna do it. I thought I had focus. Alright, that's a little bit better. You know, what I'd really like is just a nice, solid, stable image of the planet. But that's just never seems to happen for me. Rarely seems to happen for me. Such is life. Oh well. So yeah, this is the luminance now. I'm gonna go back and I just keep shooting color, hoping that I get a decent one, but I rarely do. So we're gonna let this go, yes, and then we're gonna switch over to infrared. Yeah, it's amazing how much different visual observing is. It's awesome. It's so nice, but it's also frustrating because you move around. You're constantly just hunting around with your eye, trying to find, those points where you can see, all the stars or whatever, averted vision, looking out the corner of your eye, kind of. Okay, so there's this. Let's move on to infrared now, because that's going to be interesting. Now I've got to remember where the heck is focus going to be with this one. Let's do that. So we're going to have to move this focuser around and see if we can find decent focus on infrared. So this is 742 nanometer infrared. I tend to get quite a bit better views through this. It cuts through that vibrating atmosphere pretty well, actually. So See if I can find that focus point. So current reports just come in hot off the press. Apparently the fun action that we've recently been seeing around the Great Red Spot in Methane has faded substantially. So probably won't be able to see it in infrared in my image. If you look at the image I posted on Twitter today, you'll see that image that I'm talking about, and it actually, that spot showed up brightly in infrared as well as methane, which was pretty cool. And I don't know why, I don't know the chemical reason for that in the clouds, but it's definitely pretty cool. Okay, so I'm hunting around trying to find focus right now. If you're curious what the hell Corey is doing right now, that's what it is. Trying to find the focus on the infrared is hard because there isn't a lot. Well, I can't look at my phone, David, because I'm busy here. Hang on a minute. I need to get this. I hope you didn't break your phone. I'll look at it just now. Once I get this going. Ooh, did we find focus? Okay, so getting close. I'm getting close. This is tough. See, the less stable the atmosphere is, the more difficult it is to find this focus because it just pops around all the time. So you kind of have to make a best guess of what kind of when things are in focus. So you make small changes and you wait a few seconds and you watch, which is hard to wrap your brain around because, you know, you're like, okay, well, I think it got better, but I don't really know. So I'm actually going to move it back to where I think it was better. This is about, man. So you look at these little contrast lines, you try and find the places of least contrast before. If they pop in and give you some contrast, then there's a good chance that you've got decent focus. And right now, all of a sudden, it's it's becoming difficult. Okay, I'm gonna get wild and I'm gonna move it really far. See, it's always crazy when you move the focus like a good amount and it doesn't seem to change that much. But it does, it just doesn't seem like it sometimes. Turn that off. I don't need those anymore. Man, the scene conditions are deteriorating quite a bit, so I'm going to do my best with this focus and then just try and capture and hope that I get something out of the deal. Because it's rough right now. Especially with this infrared business. Okay, when it settles, you can focus like now. Ugh. And then it goes nuts after I say that. Okay, where was I? Where was I? Am I really that far out? With focus, this is interesting. Come on. I have an internal battle. I just want to shoot. But the point is, it's pointless to shoot if you don't have focus. So I'm really going to try and get this thing in. Okay, well that's about where I think we're gonna go. That's about it. I'm gonna capture 120 seconds. Oops. Of infrared at a time. Get a bunch of these in a row and see if I can make something of it. Okay, where are we? Yes, Clyde has echoed my woes. The seeing conditions have deteriorated quite a bit to the point where it is very difficult for me to maintain any sort of focus here, which is quite annoying. But that's okay, I guess. You know, this is how we deal with things. So, I'm just gonna do my best. Let's tweak this focus over a little bit. Oh man. Okay. I'm going to go with that focus point. Why not? and then we'll see if we get anything out of this. So, what have we got? I'll catch up on the questions. Yes, Renee says it's incredible to watch the GRS move so fast like this. Yeah, it is actually. I love to watch this too. I mean, the GRS is front and center right now, which is very cool. And I know it's hard to see in infrared, but it's right there in the middle. It's the lighter spot just in the center. And it started. What did we start this stream? Geez, hour and a half ago now. Oh my goodness, time just goes. It's almost 5 a.m. local time for me. And it started. It wasn't even on the visible on the face of the planet at all. As of this point, the Juno spacecraft would have been through in about 8 hours from now. Let's see. So 10:19 UT. It's 3. Yeah. It'll have been probably just finished its pass. I would guess at 10:19 it'll be right in the center. I'm not sure how long it takes to get across the face, but yeah, it'll exit down here somewhere. It would have entered around here and gone straight through, taking some really cool stuff, images that we'll be able to see. Luckily, the Juno spacecraft camera doesn't have to deal with atmosphere like, the atmosphere of a planet and boiling clouds and things, so like we do. The only boiling clouds that it has to deal with is the ones that it's actually trying to take a photo of, which, is quite cool. So, seems like I am really just chasing this focus all over the place. Very frustrating. We'll go with that focus point now. I'm just kind of moving around and hoping that I can get something here. Renee asks, do the scientists that you share your images with give you feedback of what they got found? It's not a silly question at all. It is. I don't work directly with them. What I do is something that anyone who does planetary imaging can do. All I do is I submit my images to the online scientific databases, and the scientists will just kind of go through those images and look and see, and it's kind of up to us also as imagers that if we see anything that we think is interesting in the images, we need to make a note of it and basically just put it in the notes in the comments when we submit the images. And sometimes I guess they'll contact people. I've never been contacted personally. I know Clyde works with them directly. Clyde Foster, he works with them directly. Some of the other top planetary imagers also work with them, where they speak on on a relatively often basis about their images. And there's sometimes we're asked to, you can give out, if you give them infrared and color, they say, well, okay, well, can I have just the blue, or whatever, because they kind of want to see in specific wavelengths, specific frequencies, what things are. So there's that. That's the kind of feedback you get, is like, oh, well, this is really interesting. And sometimes, you'll get, recently we've gotten a little bit of explanation on some of the things that we're seeing, so what it means, and the chemicals that are in the atmosphere there, which is I think, very interesting also. It's just, I don't really know enough about it. And what I've learned recently about the scientific research in the planetary field, or probably any astronomy field, is there's a big difference between the imagers and the and the researchers. the researchers, they're busy. They don't have time to actually acquire images on a regular basis. Like, like I take pictures. I take images of space, and I'll post them online, and I'll post them to the databases and everything. And it takes up time. Just the time that I'm doing this is massive, especially if you're doing it on a regular basis, like I have been recently with Jupiter. It just takes a ton of time to process and acquire, and then you've got to sleep. You got to have your own life as well. So it's really difficult to do them both. So I think the scientists really do depend on us to feed them data, to feed them things to research and the interesting stuff. And on the flip side, we as imagers don't always have time to really, stare at our images and do all kinds of comparisons and things between, how different is it from last week? Because we've got other things to do. We've got preparations to do. We've got day jobs, lives, families, and all of that. So, yeah, you it's a big symbiotic relationship, I think. And we do this as imagers. We do this it's our it's a passion for us. We love it. We do it because we love it. Like, we don't get paid, most of us. We just do it because we enjoy it, taking images of and sharing the universe. Like what I'm doing with this live stream, like, it's just me sharing it with you, and because I find it fascinating, and I figure if I find it fascinating, there's probably somebody else out there that also does, and we may as well share that and foster that fascination and that inspiration. So yeah, it's really it's exciting stuff. I think it's things that we never even thought of. It's off this planet. We're still trying to figure it out. What did Neil deGrasse Tyson say a while back? He said, we understand about 94%, we understand about 4% of the universe. The rest of it, we're still trying to figure out. Like, we've got a lot of work to do, and the thing is, we need to work together to keep that momentum going. So yeah, let's see. Ethan says Juno just has to deal with harsh radiation environment. Yeah, it's true. So just flying around there near Jupiter, I mean, Jupiter gives off all kinds of radiation, and and just the radiation of space alone, it's there. So yeah, it's got to deal with that. I don't really, I guess I can't say enough about the components and everything and what they can handle, but it's been there for a while, and it can. I'm happy that it's alive still, because it's super exciting that I can kind of be a part of this, even in the smallest, tiniest way of saying, like, oh, hey guys, scientists, people, folks, check out this stuff, because maybe it'll matter to you. And turns out it does often, so that's cool. So what you're seeing is definitely something the scientists depend on. So always interesting stuff. Thanks again also to David Dickenson for joining. I just looked at Twitter, and it appears that Skywalker has just tweeted. I'm going to retweet I'm going to retweet this tweet. Looks like of a recent image of Jupiter from just now. Similar image of what I'm seeing. Very, very well done. Looks like he's got excellent seeing. So that's cool. Seems things have stabilized a little bit, so maybe we'll get some good images out of this. I'll switch back to color after this infrared image, so I can hopefully get something of the great red spot front and center. See what happens. Quite happy with this. Now, it doesn't seem to be jumping around so bad. I do want to get a methane filter because I'm interested to get some of this even more scientific information. Would be nice. It'd be nice to do more. I do enjoy it. I like being beneficial. Okay, this is almost done, and we can switch back to doing color. Okay, so remember what this looks like. Red is going to be next. And there's red. So that was infrared, this is red. They don't look that much different. Hello, Ernie. Ernie Jacobs is here. He's been following this for a while. It's been an interesting journey this season, I think, with all the changes and everything. Ooh. Trying to get a nice stable image out of this deal. That's pretty good. That's pretty good there. I'm gonna have to go with that. Ooh, maybe. It should have been pretty close. I saved the focus positions and the focuser does a good job of moving it back and forth. But it's not always perfect. Still got another hour of daylight here. Cheers, Clyde. Good luck with your processing. Let me know how it goes. I keep thinking I get what I want here, but then, like, I guess I'm never happy with the seeing conditions. And then I end up getting spoiled for choice and, like, not even having time to properly process anyway, so. It's frustrating sometimes. I'm playing with the gamma right now. Cheers, Davide. I'm still trying to find the perfect focus on red. Maybe that's a sign that it's not going to happen. Which is possible. Well, you know. Yeah, we'll go with that. 286. Okay, let's do some color. So if you haven't yet, you guys should all check out the Juno website. Because it is very cool. Let me see. I'll put a link to the Juno project. Here it is. Very interesting stuff. It's incredible. Check out the Juno NASA. Oops. It's the NASA Juno. Mission information. It's there. I need to switch to green now. So this is green. Focus definitely has shifted over some time here. I went way too far there. Wow. Seeing it definitely has deteriorated quite a bit. Okay, we're just gonna have to roll with what we get here. Maybe I'll get something good out of this, but man, it doesn't look like it. Ooh. It's ugly. Yeah, so let me put this up here. Oh, I can't do it. Let's do it this way. I'll share the window. That's what I'll do. Yeah. I have to switch over to blue. 276. Try and get some blue. If I can get it to stabilize. Oh, look at that thing go, man. Not cool. Somebody tell it to calm down. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Oops. So I'm making dramatic changes in the focus right now. Trying to hunt around. Second, once it's still enough. Okay, well I gotta capture it, so grab that and then I'll try and mess around with some focus some more. I was gonna show you the Mission Juno website. Because it's really cool. So this is the Mission Juno website. Very, very cool stuff, what they've got on here. They feature images from users, so if you go in here, you can see some of the stuff. Probably I bet Jason Major's name is in here. Kevin Gill. Those two people I know. You know, and there's a lot in there, and you can go download the Juno data. Let's look at one of Kevin's. So good. Recent stuff. And this was from perijove 26, so the previous image. I mean, check this out, Locke. Yeah, I know I can't get close to that, but I'm gonna, do my best. But it's incredible what it can see, and that's not even the closest stuff. So, yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing stuff. Back to my blurry image now. See what we can manage. I can't believe that the focus has shifted this much. But apparently it has. Seems like I'm getting it tweaked in now, slowly. Do I know, so Ernie asks, do I know the tie-in to mythology with Juno? No, I don't, actually. I do not know the tie-in. If you know, please enlighten. I assume it's got a name. It is based on the name of the project. Yeah, so if you want to let me know, that'd be great. This is so frustrating. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do one more final terrible capture of this, and then I'm going to call it so that I can get like a power nap before I start my day. Maybe. Although it is 5:30. Oh. Well, there we go. You see, I don't follow really mythology at all. So, I know there's always tie-ins with mythology and naming stuff and what we see in space. Which, yeah, I don't follow it. That's interesting. So Juno is his wife. Okay. I've got to shift this focus from green back as well. Massive change. That's crazy. It's got to be atmospheric. I'm really struggling with focus here. So Jupiter is a naughty thing. We're making sure we're keeping tabs on naughty old Jupiter right now. So Juno went in to make sure. Got it. That's funny. That's what happens, you know? There you go. There's some interesting mythology talk happening in the comments right now. Oh, this is horrible. Jeez, man. Yeah, I'm giving up after this one because it's just too much. Okay, that was green. Go back to blue. It's like it keeps getting worse. Definitely. Seeing conditions were supposed to be good. The forecast is wrong. Oh well. Okay, we'll get this final blue going and then okay, well, as this last blue ticks down, that'll be it for tonight's stream. Yeah, forecast is wrong. Yeah. It's just so hard to find focus right now. It's bad. But that's how it's been. So, I mean, this is like par for the course. Those times when it's actually really good are so few and far between. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and shut down the stream. Hope you guys all enjoyed the bit of time we had. And check back, watch the Twitter feed. I post stuff on Instagram as well. So we'll see you next time. Probably going to take a night off tomorrow and get some sleep. I've been kind of at it a lot lately, so I need to take some time and manage some things here. So, but of course, I'll probably be up here doing the moon. The moon's quite a bit easier, so I'll probably be up here doing the moon one of these days, very, very soon. So, enjoy. Cheers, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, day, morning, whatever it is for you. So, cheers, guys.